tensions are bound to be there, because you have two very creative and strong people who can have differences with each other. All right. So we exactly don't know what had happened. We cannot blame him for her suicide, whatever. But then after she committed suicide, he had to suffer quite a lot because the media would not leave him. Society started labeling him as someone who drove his wife to suicide and things like that. And okay, so that's just a bio brief for you about Ted Hughes. Now coming to Thought Fox. Look at the title, The Thought Fox. What does this say? This actually refers to the comparison he is using. Comparison he is using for the process that happens in one's mind before writing and during the process of writing to that of a fox. You understand? So the way a fox would move around and then finally come and pounce on you is like the way our thoughts function in our mind. Our thoughts, they function in a particular manner, and then slowly it'll come to your consciousness, and then you start writing poems. It's not that you have dream one fine day and then you start writing poem. And sometimes when you're writing, especially creative writers will know, there's something called writing block, the writer's block, wherein how much ever you try, you will not be able to write. And then there are moments wherein you can simply write and write and write, with flourish. So it all depends on that creative force that is there in you. Sometimes how much ever you may try, you may not be able to write, and sometimes without any effort things will simply fall into place. You will be able to do a very good job of it. So here you have the imagery of the poet sitting there. It's a highly symbolic poem. All right. So you have this person, he's sitting, it's night, he's sitting by the window. It's very calm, it's quite dark, and it's a very silent night. It's kind of a chilly night, and he's sitting by his table, I mean by the window, with a blank sheet of paper in front of him, and he's trying to write. So there's this blank sheet of paper, the pen, and the poet is sitting and staring at the paper, but nothing is coming to him. But then he can sense that there is something or someone outside the window. It's like a forest area with lots of trees, darkness, everything. So it's kind of a scary and a eerie kind of an atmosphere. And then he feels there is someone there, and who's slowly and slowly coming closer to him, coming to the window. And then this presence, the presence that he senses and he feels, he says is that of a fox. See, the poem actually works at two to three levels. One level is the reality, that is the external world. And what is the external world of the reality? The poet sitting with this blank sheet of paper trying to write something. That's the external reality. Internal reality is what is happening within his mind. So his mind is also like a jungle. It's kind of a forest. It's dark, and he's kind of looking for ideas. Maybe ideas are somewhere, but then he's kind of lost, and then slowly he's moving towards somewhere, to some kind of an idea. That's the internal world. And then you have a world outside, the literal world outside, as in outside the window, which is very, very dark. And then it's a starless, moonless night. And then it's quite lonely outside as well as inside. And then he feels that there is a presence. We can sense if there is someone hiding and lurking in the darkness. Same is the case with him also. So he's sitting there by the window. He can sense that there is someone out there who's slowly walking, kind of scampering without making much noise, and then slowly there are footprints being made. And then he feels that somebody, that something, or that something that is there in the darkness is kind of jumping at him. And he thinks it's a fox. It's like a fox that is there, and it's kind of jumping onto him. So it's that moment when the poem gets written. Have you understood the imagery that he is using? So the thoughts that lead to the writing of a poem, the creative process, is compared to that of a fox that is in the forest, in the darkness, and it is slowly moving towards him, and how it is scampering, coming slowly, and in the chill of the lonely, dark night. And the moment it enters him, or he feels that the fox has entered or come to him, is the moment when the creative forces start working, or helping him to write a poem. So let's go through the poem, and then we can try to make sense of what he is trying to say. It's kind of a comparative, you could say it's kind of a comparison. So within the poem, there's a comparison. What is the comparison between the process of writing a poem and the thought that is coming in his mind? It is compared to the actions and the movements of a fox. Can someone please read that for us, the poem?
The thought fox. I imagine this midnight moment's forest. Something else is alive. Beside the clock's loneliness and this blank page where my fingers move. Through the window, I see no star. Something more near, though deeper within darkness, is entering the loneliness. Cold, steady as dark snow, a fox nose touches twig. Two eyes serve a movement that now and again, now and now and now, sets neat prints into the snow between trees and vaguely a lane, shadow lags by stump and in hollow of a boat with boat to come. Across clearings and I, a widening, deepening greenness, brilliantly concentrated, coming about its own business. Till with a sudden sharp hot sting of enters the dark hole of the head. The window is starless till the clock ticks, the page is printed.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the thought fox. So now the first stanza, he's giving this description of the setting. What is the setting? I imagine this midnight moments forest. So it is night, and he is imagining this whole world, or the whole place is kind of a forest. Why kind of a forest? Because it is dark, and then it is kind of lonely, and then you feel as if you're in a forest. So this is a midnight moments forest. It's dark, unpenetrable, and then mysterious and lonely. So it's midnight, and he's sitting there. Something else is alive. So he is sitting all alone inside the house near the window at a table. He feels that there is something else outside that is alive. He is not the only living creature around. There's someone or something outside. And this blank page where my fingers move. So he has this blank page on the table and his fingers are moving. So there are two living creatures. One is the poet with a pen whose fingers are kind of moving, but then nothing is happening. It's a blank page. So please see that. So at the beginning of the creative process, there is this blankness. The page is blank. That is, even the mind is blank. There's no idea. So he's waiting for some ideas to come to him. All right, and then so he is one person who is alive, and there is something else outside also that is alive. And then you have the clock's loneliness. That is, the clock is also feeling lonely. Maybe it is ticking slowly, but then at night and all, clock would be the loudest thing around. You can hear that the tick tock sound. So maybe the clock is the only thing that is making some kind of a noise. So the poet is sitting there, and there is something outside. He's sensing that there is something outside. Is this clear? The first stanza.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
All right. Now the second one. Through the window, I see no star. Something more near, though deeper within darkness, is entering the loneliness. So he's looking out of the window, and what does he see? It's darkness. There's no star. So it's a dark night. There's nothing that can be seen. So this darkness is also comparable to the blankness that is there in his mind and on the paper. See, everything is working on three levels. So the paper is blank, his mind is blank, and outside also it is blank. So though deeper within darkness is entering the loneliness. So there is something more near. So you're saying, though I'm looking out and there's nothing visible as such, but I feel something from far in that midnight moments forest. That there's something that is alive, is slowly and slowly coming closer to me. It is entering the loneliness as in the loneliness that he is experiencing right now. There's nobody else, and there are no thoughts also to give him company. So into this loneliness and blankness, there is something that is coming nearer and nearer. So it's kind of a creepy feeling. You also try and sit next to a window, keep the window open in the middle of the night, and you're sitting all alone. Don't you get these kind of creeps? So he is also experiencing something of that kind. You feel scared, or you can sense that there is someone. You feel somebody's standing at your back, or looking over your shoulder. That's the kind of feeling you get. So he's experiencing that, but then he's saying there's something more near, but he doesn't know what that is, but he's sensing it. Then, cold, delicately as the dark snow, a fox's nose touches twig, leaf. Two eyes serve a moment that now and again, now and now and now. Set neat prints into the snow between trees, and verily a lame shadow lags by stump and in hollow of a body that is bold to come. So these two stanzas, what is it telling us? It is giving us the picture of a fox. So he's saying there is a fox outside. So it's not a literal fox, but he's sensing that there is a fox there. So this thought that is coming to his mind is like a fox that is coming in the darkness of the night, which is slowly, inching slowly closer to him. So it's quite cold. So it's a dark winter night. So it's cold, and delicately as the dark snow, there is a fox. And what is this fox doing? With its nose, it is touching the twigs and leaves. It is actually smelling. Animal behavior, right? They keep on smelling and sensing things when they move in darkness. And they can sense what is around them. So you have this fox that is smelling things, and it is coming. It's moving towards his window, towards the house. And two eyes serve a moment. So two eyes, and as in two eyes of the fox. So the foxes, they can see in the night, right? They have night vision. So they are serving. I mean, that is actually helping the fox to watch and see, look around. So it's looking here and there again, now and now and now. And then slowly it is looking here and there, and slowly it's walking further. And by walking, what is happening? It's setting neat prints into the snow between trees. So there is snow everywhere. So, and now when this fox is walking slowly and slowly, coming closer to the window, it is leaving its footprints, neat footprints into the snow. So these footprints are slowly printed on the snow. So it's coming between the trees. And verily a lame shadow lags. So this lame shadow is the shadow of the fox. It lags by stump and in hollow of a body that is bold to come. So this, it's slowly coming. It's kind of lagging. It's not kind of jumping and going, but it's see, animals, they're predators. These animals, how do they go on hunting? How do they move before pouncing onto something? They smell. They go very slowly without making noise. In the same manner, this fox is also moving ahead. So it's slowly coming. So there are these clearings. It's a forest area. Outside, it's kind of forest area. So across clearings as in where the trees are cut, an eye. So eye of the fox, a widening, deepening greenness, brilliantly, concentratedly coming about its business. So slowly and with a lot of concentration, this creature is slowly and slowly moving forward. It is coming about its own business, coming about its own business, as in this uh, animal is going about doing its business of hunting, that is smelling. It's looking for some prey. So it's going about its business. That that animal behavior is clearly given here. The way animals, the predators, they sniff around, how they move without making noise before they make that ultimate pouncing or jumping on its prey. So it's slowly going, it's doing it brilliantly with all concentration. So it's going about doing its business till, with a sudden sharp hot stink of fox, it enters the dark hole of the head. So it's as if this fox that has been approaching the poet or coming closer to him, walking through the dark forest, walking on the snow, has almost reached him, and all of a sudden it has leaped. All of a sudden it has just imagine a camera movement, as in the camera tracking this kind of a thing, wherein you have this something or someone, here it's a fox that is slowly and slowly biding its time, smelling, not making noise, moving forward, and then it has come so close to the poet that he can feel the sharp hot stink of fox. Means the fox has come almost close to his face, so he can feel that animal smell, that hot sting, hot as in the hot breath. It's a cold night, please remember. So that breath that is given out is hot. So that hot breath, which has that animal stench, the smell of the animal. And it's as if this fox is coming and jumping, it's entering. Where is it entering? It's entering the dark hole of the head. That is, there is some kind of a hole in the head, as in, if you remember at the beginning of the poem, the first stanza, what did we see? His mind is also empty and blank, right? Just like the page that is there outside. So into this dark hole of the head with no idea, this animal with this hot stinking smell jumps into that. So it's just an imaginary fox, all right? So it enters the dark hole of the head. So this fox has slowly come and entered. Till now everything was slow, but the moment it jumps, it's kind of sudden. Till now all this motion, everything was very calculated, very slow, deliberate, everything before the final hunt or the final pounce. Now finally it has pounced. It has pounced, and where has it pounced? Into the dark hole of the head of the poet. The poet's head was empty, empty of ideas. There's nothing there. It was all dark and lost. So it enters the dark hole of the head, and after that there is a sudden transformation. What is this transformation? See, the window is starless still. It means the outside world is still the same. It is still starless. The clock is ticking. So the external world is almost the same. The window is starless, no light anywhere. The clock is continuing that ticking sound. But then there is a major difference. And what is that? The last line, the page is printed. The page is printed as in creativity has taken place. That idea has come to him. That idea suddenly has come to him, and in a frenzy he has written down something, he has scribbled down something. So now when he is looking at it, the page is printed, as in the poem has been written. Have you understood the imagery that he is using? It's nothing but an animal imagery that is used to describe what happens in the poetic process. So there's this inspiration that comes slowly, stealthily, steadily, biding its time without making noise. It's smelling around, and all of a sudden it comes and pounces, and then you have the poem being written down. Have you understood? He's using
Yes,
animal imagery to describe what happens or what goes on in the mind of a poet when he is trying to write. And Ted Hughes, he is very famous as an animal poet because he was fascinated by the world of animals. He speaks about that animal energy, that vitality that is there in animals, their passion for life, the way they hunt. He has published this very famous collection, Hawk in the Rain. Hawk is a bird of prey. So he talks about the sweep and fall of the bird. So he talks about horses. So he's mainly known as an animal poet, wherein different aspects of life are kind of compared, and then even contrasted, sometimes analyzed as against that of the animals, the animal power, and the way animals go about living their life. So here in this poem he's talking about the poetic process, the creative process, and how poems get to be written. So, according to him, it's like the thoughts that come to the poet's mind is like that of a fox that comes stealthily, stealing into his mind. So, slowly it comes and then it pounces. So, once it pounces, that dark hole is filled, you get the ideas, and then what is the outcome of all this? Your poetry gets written. That is, your creativity gets fulfilled, or it you could say, there is a fruition. The fruit of that thought is poetry. And if you look at the lines, when you look at the lines, you don't find, yeah, you can see little bit of rhyming scheme, but it's not a very standard rhyming scheme, but you can find plenty of run-in lines. Run-in line is, see, one line running on to the next. See, something else is alive beside the clock's loneliness, and this blank page. See, it's as if he's speaking. So one line is running on to the other line. So these are called run-on lines. RUN, run on lines, as in there's no full stop, comma, whatever here. It's continuing in the next line and to the next line. So this is actually symbolic, or you could say it actually shows the movement of the fox. It's not stopping anywhere. So it is slowly moving. In between, maybe there is a small stop, but then moving. See, you don't have, stanza breaks everywhere. So plenty of run-on lines symbolizing, signifying the way in which the fox is moving and finally jumping and entering the dark hole of the head, which leads to the production of the poem. That is, the page is printed. So everything is the same except for the creative process that has happened. And what is the product of this creative process? Poetry or something that is written on the page. So maybe he's talking about this very poem that he's written, the thought fox, right? So everything else being the same, the only difference or the only change is the poetic process, wherein the end result is a poem. Have you understood the poem? Can have a discussion if you have any query, or if you want to add something.